Hi, my name's Kaz Riley. This is Trancing in the Sheets, and I have got one of the co-owners, I believe now, of HTL, Scott Sandland, and we're going to talk about not just why you should come to HTL, but why you should do that for your business and what that means further along down the line, especially as we're all kind of reconnecting after COVID and the world psychological services are absolutely on their knees. And we have just the most amazing opportunity to serve the greater good, to do greater good, to serve the world, and to really put hypnosis on the map. So thank you so much, Scott, for taking some time to talk to me today.
I'm happy to be here, Kaz. Thanks for inviting me.
So tell us, what do you think? I mean, it's true, isn't it? HTL, I know for me, when I first came to HTL, I'd never really presented at a conference. I came there as an attendee. And that first year, I learned so much that made such a massive difference to my business, how I did my business, and how I then move forward with my business. And I think many people at the moment are at that place, whether they're a seasoned hypnotist or they're brand new, because the world has become a very different place over the last 2 years. So tell us how you feel Hypnothoughts kind of fits into that in helping those people move forwards.
Sure. So I think there's actually two pieces to it. So the first piece is just about our scale. Like, we are the biggest conference there is. There is no hypnosis conference that has half the number of presentations that we have. So and we work really hard to have variety and new voices. 20% of our presenters every year are new. And that means that you're getting new exposure to new thoughts. So to your point, whether it's a novice or a veteran or where they are in their career journey, I promise there's stuff at this conference that you've never heard before, that you've never been exposed to. I've been in this business for over 20 something years, and I still see stuff at Hypnothoughts Live every single year that I'm like, oh, that's a fresh take. Oh, that's a new piece. Or I like how they're incorporating these two established things. And so just the opportunity to be exposed to more is really valuable when you're thinking about what you want to do and how you want to learn. And I think the other piece is the in-person community of it. I like the online conferences. I've hosted a few. I've presented at a few. I like those as well. There's obviously value in that, and there's good economy in not having to leave your house. I get it. But being in the room with other friends and peers, getting to be part of organic conversations that naturally occur, networking moments. I mean, I can genuinely attribute tens of thousands of dollars of income and revenue to me as a practitioner that has come directly from relationships I've built in person at conferences. And I've sent, 100 clients out over the years to people I've met in person. And so I see those two pieces as huge opportunities for all of us to reconnect, to get exposed to new ideas, to meet new people, to create friendships and referral relationships with our colleagues that are in different areas of the country, or in this case, the world.
I think as well, it's about for some people, if they've had to drop everything because they had to homeschool their kids, for example, or they had to close their office and for whatever reason it wasn't suitable for them for working online, for example. I think a lot of people, certainly some of the people I've been speaking to about coming to HTL, I said it's about reconnecting with themselves as well as getting into that mindset of the hypnotist, of the therapist, so that they then can, 2 years sometimes is a long time not to be doing something. So just to get yourself in that kind of hypnotic, kind of nurturing, really kind of exciting environment. So people really still feel that buzz, if you like, about hypnosis again. HTL is a great way to do that if people are wanting to step back into kind of getting their practice up and running again, if they had to let it kind of be quiet for a while, or in fact to start to look at where they're going to focus, because the focuses of the world have changed. So anxiety, social anxiety, all of those kinds of things, I know I'm seeing absolutely masses of here. And just kind of people finding those skills that maybe they didn't have just by going and attending that a 3-day conference.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, my thing is beeping a lot, even though I set one of them to silent. The other thing managed to get through. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
And it's always Dan Paris every time. Dan Paris. Great NLP guy, by the way. I don't know. The people who know him are like, oh, yeah, Dan's brilliant at this stuff, but he's under the radar. But he's showing up today. But no, I actually, to your point, I think we actually have a responsibility here, not just an opportunity. Like to those people that you were talking about that, had to shut their doors or go to part-time because their kids were, being homeschooled or whatever those, just life that happened over these last few years that have been crazy. And the needs of people, and like you said, the demands are different than they were 3-4 years ago. And so being exposed again to the new ideas, but also we have a responsibility to be our best. Like our clients don't deserve, I'm a little rusty. Our clients don't deserve, oh, I haven't worked with that in a while. I've only been working with these things lately. They deserve us finely tuned, ready to go, excited and leaning in. And there is nothing that gets me as excited about doing the work as being around my friends and colleagues. Like it's just, I love having a good client session, but nothing gets me as excited as hearing my other friends doing cool work and being encouraged by people who are saying, oh, I'm so inspired by what you're doing. And it's someone that I'm inspired by. Those moments are transformational for, I think, most of us, which is why we all love coming to these in-person events.
Absolutely, because it's outside of the classroom that those conversations take place.
Yeah.
And it's outside of the classroom as well as inside the classroom that we all get inspired and start to kind of look at the possibilities. To quote the lovely Mariana Matthews, if we live in possibility and we allow ourselves to see all the different kind of areas that we can apply. And for me, it's always about the application of hypnosis. It's not just about learning it, it's about how we apply it out there in the real world. And we can start to see just by those conversations how we can apply it to so many different situations and different environments, even, places like schools that have had a lot of anxiety, companies that have had a lot of anxiety. And by having that time to swap those ideas around, then we serve, as hypnotists and hypnotherapists, we serve the whole world better. Whatever country you're coming from to go to Hypnothoughts, you go back and you take this kind of real melting pot of hypnotic ideas, techniques, conversations, things that are people, that people are doing back to the place where you are. And even if you're an office-based hypnotist, you never do a session online, that just allows you to serve the people that you're serving a million times better, doesn't it?
It totally does. And like, I remember a time pretty early in my career where I was kind of calibrating where I was. And I remember saying at the IMDHA conference, which is now in Florida, but at the time it was in Michigan. And I remember it was just outside of Detroit. And I remember talking to a few of, the big deal guys, the people who were getting the awards and all that stuff. And I was this new hypnotist. And I remember saying, okay, I am now a good hypnotist. I'm a good hypnotist, and I need to learn how to turn that into being a hypnotherapist. Like my phenomena is good, my confidence is good, my inductions and pattern are good, but I need to know how to turn this into helping people. And that's the piece I need. And they talked me through it. And it was very much like you said, it was an out of the classroom conversation. And it was mentorship, but it was also friendship. And it was these people wanting to pay it forward, which was wonderful of them. And they said, okay, this is the kind of conversation that you can really only have in person, because they had to calibrate me and they had to calibrate what my deficiencies were. And I was asking them to do that. And then they were able to give me advice I would never be able to get any other way, and changed my career, changed my life. Just that conversation. I wasn't even having a beer. I was 20. So like I couldn't even drink. And I was just having this conversation with, like the Michael Elners and the Jim Duncan, like these big deal people. And I was like, okay, how do I get from where I am? I'm really proud of where I am as a stage, and I've worked hard to get here. And now I want to get to where you guys are, or in the direction of where you guys are. What do I need to do? And we were able to have a really sincere conversation. And, many people were involved, and it didn't just help me, it helped, I don't know, 4 or 5 other people, maybe as much or more. And that is what conferences provide. And the reason I work so hard, with Stephanie and, a bunch of people, but the reason we work so hard on Hypnothoughts Live is because those moments, I can point to 4 or 5 moments like that have changed my life. And I know that people are having those at Hypnothoughts Live. And that's why we do the work, is because there's life-changing conversations happening at 10 o'clock at night. There's the life-changing conversations happening over a breakfast. And those moments are worth all of it.
They absolutely are. And of course, at the moment, there's probably lots of hypnotists and hypnotherapists that are looking for whatever reason to change direction, to kind of, for whatever's changed in their lives, over the past few years. We've always had, haven't we, stage hypnotists that become therapists that,
Sure.
Take up street hypnosis, and people that have always seen one-to-one that are suddenly doing corporate things and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And, just kind of how to go about that. Of course, there's always the business side of stuff as well at Hypnothoughts as well. So it's really all encompassing. Whatever it is that you need, you can find. And usually find the person that's really walking their talk, that's been doing it for a long time, and have that conversation with them so that you can really get to grips about, often I think people come thinking they want to go in one direction, and they're so inspired by something that they discover at Hypnothoughts that they actually end up going in another one. That's where they find their passion, just something that they'd never even considered they could do with hypnosis.
Yeah. And it's that business side, like just the opportunities, like you said, like corporate or schools or whatever, you can actually sit in and have a person tell you, this is how I did that. This is how I broke in. Here are the steps to get your foot in the door. And I mean, that's career defining, career changing opportunities for people who are interested in that space, but don't know how to actually make it happen. This is the place where the presenters really provide a lot of value. And we've worked hard to make sure the presenters know it's not a sales pitch. You're not trying to just, get your back of the room sales. You've got to be providing value if you want to be invited back. And because of that, the attendees know they're going to get the real information, and they're not just going to get an infomercial. They're going to get the knowledge they need to change the way they're doing work.
Absolutely. And certainly, I mean, I know I have called upon many people that I've met at Hypnothoughts after the conference. And I think this is really important. This isn't 3 days that, you can have these conversations. This is where you make your connections and you have those conversations, but then lead to great working relationships, amazing lifelong friendships, people, a network of people that you can call upon if you happen to be stuck in the future. I know I've certainly done that. And I know people contact me and, I'll give them advice about certain clients or how to do something. There is this kind of, it's much more than 3 days in Las Vegas. That's the thing that I think, more than any other conference I've ever attended, it doesn't matter where you are in the world either. It doesn't matter, what the time differences are. People always find a way to connect and stay connected and keep kind of paying it forward and moving forward. Because, I think it's Jason that says the better we all do, the better we all do, which is absolutely true, isn't it?
So while you and I were talking, I just got a phone call from a doctor who I have started referring another hypnotist to. And I met that hypnotist at Hypnothoughts Live. And I'm taking a sabbatical from seeing clients this year. And so, I've got all these referrals I've got to make. And I know the person who I just sent, this referral source was sending me 4 clients a week. So this guy, like, genuinely just organically happened that the doctor just wrote to me, said, hey, things are going well with this guy. I want to touch base with you on another type of client to see if it should go to him or a different referral. So, like, to your point, a person I met at Hypnothoughts Live, I just got text messages about saying, hey, this guy's making money because of that relationship. And yesterday I referred to a different hypnotist that I met at a conference 15 years ago. So it wasn't at Hypnothoughts Live. But these are the things that happen. And people say, how do I get my business working? You've got to be known, either in your community, like regional, local, in your specialty, or among us, or all of those things. And now all of a sudden you have referral sources coming to you, which is cheaper than marketing. And then it allows you to refer to make sure the clients are getting their best relationship. You're getting and receiving these referrals. And it's a more fun way to do the work, because you're only doing the stuff you want to do. You're helping other people do the work that they want to do. And you're getting new clients and getting great word of mouth. And these things are happening for real all day, every day in my life for over a decade.
Yeah, and mine too. And that's, we talk about word of mouth, isn't it? Word of mouth is one of the most important ways that that any business is built. If you get a recommendation, it's the first one you look at, isn't it? Because it's been recommended by somebody who asked you for a recommendation, or you ask them. I think as well, when we're looking at that, it's also about then how people then take that back, if you like, and start to build that network. If people have never built a network before, maybe they've been in a job or they've had a career in the past where they've never had to build a network, coming to HTL allows them to do that, but also then teaches them how to then go back and do that within their community. Right. And it's about, it's always about giving value, isn't it? And, Hypnothoughts itself is about giving value. But when we're building that network and you go back and build it somewhere else, it's always about what you bring to the table. And by default, what we do when we all do that, we all go out and take all this stuff back from HTL and go out and build our networks, is that what we're doing is we're building the reputation of hypnosis. And we give the world more and more knowledge and good experiences and understanding of what hypnosis could do, that it's not just stop smoking and weight loss. There's so much more that we can do with it. And that then just starts to build this momentum that, we want, hypnosis is starting to really kind of snowball, isn't it? And the more we do that and the more we connect somewhere like Hypnothoughts, the more that, the more momentum that snowball kind of makes and goes whizzing off, and, we all benefit from that.
Yeah. And again, the reason we're doing this is because we've seen it makes a difference. And there's just too many examples of really great hypnotists who say, the reason I'm in this position is because of conferences. Like really, truly being in person, having multiple consecutive days of just being immersed in these conversations. And I also think another piece of that is seeing that your role models are made out of human beings is great, because it's easy to read Roy Hunter's books and just say, well, that's Roy Hunter. But then you meet him and you find out he's just a guy. And you can do that with everybody in the industry is going to be there. And so you can say, no matter who it is, like at first, I've seen many, many times someone be a little intimidated to, go talk to somebody that's a big deal to them. I remember when it was Roy Hunter for me was one of the times. Marks Howell was another one where Marks Howell came to my talk when I was at a conference, and Marks was sitting there, and I was like so intimidated and so terrified. And he was sitting next to Shelley Stockwell, and I was like, ugh. And then they came up to me and they gave me great feedback. They said, we really like the way you did this. We noticed you do this. Why don't you do it this way? Because we want to hear your thought process. And there's just this huge opportunity. And then I became friends with them, and I get to joke with them and like text message with Marks Howell. That's a crazy thought, but I get to do that because I've earned the relationship through, just being present with him in person. And for the people who are out there who have these role models, you get to make them your friends. Like, what's that worth? Like, to be able to call on a role model and make them a mentor and make them a colleague and make them a peer and make them a friend. It's the place where that happens. There's a bunch of other great conferences that I like, but none of them have this, and none of them are built on that ethos of community, and everyone's equal. Everyone's badge is the same. Everyone's equal. And that philosophy really resonates throughout the year-round community that we have.
Absolutely. And of course, you don't have to be a presenter at Hypnothoughts to get all of that. That's the really cool thing about it. You know, certainly the first year I came as an attendee. You know, I didn't know anybody. Nobody knew who I was. And I went and saw just such cool stuff and made such great connections that, you know, it absolutely changed. I've been a hypnotherapist for 10 years at that point. You know, I've been here working in this office. And suddenly it was, you know, that community, those connections that changed absolutely everything for me. And even about how I viewed myself as a hypnotist and what I could bring to the table to the world of hypnosis. And I think that's really important, that this may be the place, even if you're coming as an attendee, you've never been before, that this could be the place where you truly find what your calling is within the hypnosis world. And that is, you know, and I know lots of people that have done that at Hypnothoughts, you know, like countless people that have done that at Hypnothoughts, which then leads them to come back the next year with the thing that they want to tell the world about. And they'll have done it for the year that they've been away. You know, they'll have gone and done all of that, which again, just kind of expands the thing that we all love, which is hypnosis, how it, you know, how we do it, what we do with it, how we apply it, and importantly, how that impacts on the people that we serve, the job that we do, and how effective we are, which is just amazing, isn't it?
It really is. It's so cool to see exactly what you just said keep happening year after year. It's not, you know, every once in a while this happens, but, you know, dozens of people every single year show up, you know, with experience and a track record and all that, and then they find something that really, you know, sets them on fire, and they're all of a sudden just in a whole new gear, or they see a different approach that really resonates with them, and then they become a speaker on that topic or something similar, you know, the next year or the following year. I mean, a couple of years ago, I had a presenter who was he was an established name. He was a real player, and he said, "I want to be involved in Hypnothoughts Live. I know I've missed the deadline. Can I, you know, take a spot if anybody drops out?" And he was respectful about it. And I said, "I would rather have you come as an attendee the first time. I know who you are, and I mean this respectfully. I want your first experience as a presenter at Hypnothoughts Live to be based on knowing why we're different, because you're going to show up thinking we're like the other conferences. And if you show up as an attendee once, you'll realize why I'm saying this." So he said, great. Showed up as an attendee. And as we were talking, he's like, "This is different. You're right. And I would have come at this wrong if I hadn't seen it for myself." So even if you do speak at other conferences, which is great, even if you have, you know, an established reputation in the industry, which is great, show up. Just come. It's worst case scenario. I promise it's fun. And I promise it's diverse. And I promise the value for the dollar is better than any other conference out there. And I say that with a lot of respect for the other conferences and their organizers, and a person who's been to over 50 conferences, not counting Hypnothoughts Live. We've put a lot of effort into making sure that we have the most diversity and the most value we can possibly jam into this thing.
No, absolutely. And even coming from the UK as I do, it's still, you know, it's still probably the best value, you know, factoring that in by a million miles, just because of the as you say, the diversity, but also the access that you have to people, because it truly is a place that, you know, where, you know, the presenters are there all the time. You can go and find them and speak to them just about any time. It's not a case of they kind of do their presentation and then they're all in a huddle in the corner together and they're unapproachable. It's the exact opposite of that. And you know, just to be able to kind of go and just be in that kind of place, I think, where it's like meeting your tribe, isn't it? You know, and I think especially now, you know, and we talk about these conversations and people having these kind of magical moments where they see where they want to go in the future. I think this year at Hypnothoughts, I know you've been live for the past 2 years, but obviously the USA has been shut down to the rest of the world.
Right.
So we've got the equivalent of 3 years worth of that happening all at once.
Yeah.
You know, I think it will be a Hypnothoughts like no other. So we've got the conference that's like no other, and we're going to have a year that's going to be like no other. Plus, it's a celebratory year. You know, you've got your 10-year anniversary as well. So, I think...
and to that point, like we we're always looking for little things that we can just keep tweaking and changing and modifying and improving. Like we don't have a set it and forget it philosophy on this. Every year we're making changes. And yesterday, Stephanie and I made a change to the bowling tournament that's going to just make it even better for access, to your point. Like, you know, access to the big name people. We're making a little change for the bowling tournament that most people won't even notice. Except for that, we will have more big name people engaged throughout the bowling tournament, not near each other. Because what we found was there's a bunch of the big name presenters like being on teams together and like being in lanes next to each other and talking. And we're going to intentionally split them up a bit more so that it's easier to get more of those conversations. And we put a lot of effort into engineering little things that make that access possible and creating opportunities for people to get to have that, you know, face-to-face real conversation with somebody that they've been admiring their work for a long time.
And I guess the other thing with that, and this is really important too, is that there are so many people there that aren't big names but they're doing the work. And actually, those conversations are just as important. It's great to go and speak to the person who wrote your favorite hypnosis book, but it's also amazing to find the person that actually is doing maybe what you want to do, has the practice that you strive to have, or all of that kind of stuff. Those people are there too. And they're just as willing to talk to you and talk about what they did and how they did it and where they've got to as anybody else. And that's what's so cool about Hypnothoughts.
I mean, Martin Peterson, Ken Guzzo, and I met the same day many years ago at the International Hypnosis Federation conference. Martin was a presenter. I don't know if Ken or I were. We might have been. I think I was on a panel. But like, we were just three dudes at a conference who met each other. And like, now those are two of my, you know, closest friends in the profession. And I talked to Ken as much as I talked to maybe any hypnotist alive. And so you just say, okay, these little moments, maybe it's not a big name presenter, because Ken definitely wasn't. No, I don't think Martin was either. And I wasn't. It wasn't about finding this like role model. It was just about finding a friend and finding a colleague and finding somebody who's doing interesting work. And I was really interested in Martin's work that year specifically, and just like getting to learn different, you know, styles and opportunities that are out there. And again, with how the world is right now, we have a responsibility. I really believe this. We have a responsibility to be at our best. We have a responsibility to be able to help the world where the world is and help our clients where they are. And for some of us, that might mean, you know, a couple hours in a classroom to brush up on some stuff that we might not otherwise be aware of.
We absolutely do have a responsibility, you know, to our clients, to the world, to hypnosis. You know, there is never been a greater responsibility, I think, for us to get out there and do that. And, you know, I absolutely believe that if people come to Hypnothoughts this year, if they're lacking in confidence to do that this is the place where they will find it. And if they still can't find it, this is the place where they will find the people that will lift them up until they find it. And I think, you know, we really do have this responsibility, and the world needs it. You know, the world truly does need us to do that. It needs us to step up and to get out there and to serve doing what we do.
And you're a wonderful example of that. And I really mean that. Like, you know, the first year you were a presenter, the second year you showed up, but the first, I remember the conversation about deciding to have you be a presenter first time or not. I remember looking at your presentation title because it was on the topic of sex and I didn't know you. And Richard Clark and I were creating the schedule back then. And we were looking at it, we're like, who is she? Because this is a topic that's important to get done right. And obviously we gave you the green light. Obviously you did an amazing job, but that was a handful of years. You went from an unknown attendee to this year, you're giving the keynote. Like that kind of rise is a reasonable thing to have happen at Hypnothoughts Live. And it's the embodiment of the kind of just meritocracy like our community has created.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that it certainly, inspires me. I pay forward as much as I can, simply because when I see, how just coming that first year as an attendee, that's where it all started, has lifted me and lifted my career, but it's lifted what I do, and it's made me a much, much better hypnotist, just from all of that. And, and as you say, this year I get to give the keynote, which I am beyond excited about. I mean, what an amazing thing to be able to do. So I will look for, I will save all of that for the actual keynote.
Looking forward to it.
So I know. So really, what we're saying with this conversation is Hypnothoughts is way more. It's definitely about community, but it's much more than that. It's about then helping you serve your community. It's about the community that's there all year long, not those 3 days. Is there anything else that you want to add to that before we finish?
We have a Facebook group. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, come check it out. But you'll see there, or if you just even go to htlive.net and just look at who's talking and all the talks, we have a schedule. We have a brochure where you can look at all the bios and all that, and you can just take a look and you'll go, oh my goodness, there's just way more here. And all the 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour classes, all those additional classes are built into the price. So when you show up, you can just walk around for a couple of days with free lunch. Every door is open to you, and you can just get a taste of all these different viewpoints in the work.
Absolutely. So that's htlive.net. So I can't wait to see you in it's next month. It's
5 weeks away. It's quick.
So, flights are easy to get to from, the rest of the world. It's easy to get into the USA now. If people are worrying about that, don't. I got back from the USA on Tuesday. It's super easy. And it's just going to be absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to feel the energy that's going to be flying around the Orleans this year. It's 3 years all rolled into one, essentially. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited to see you.
Trancing in the sheets. It's time for things to change.